Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to an old friend and one of the most popular guests on our channel. He shot to fame on Britain's Got Talent on Collabro and since then has been touring as a solo artist and has a brand new album. We're going to talk about that in a second. This Saturday he'll be appearing at Crazy Coq's and I'm delighted to say Richard Hadfield joins us on the phone now. How are you doing?
Yeah, hi Alex. How you doing, man?
Why are you so damn popular? I mean, I look at the stats. I did Barry Manilow in Las Vegas only a couple of weeks ago and he's had about 10 or 15,000 hits. You've had nearly 250,000. It's extraordinary.
Well, thanks, man. I guess people love a boy band breakup story, eh?
It doesn't seem to go away, that, does it? People are still obsessed with it. You'd have thought by now it'd be old news, but it's not. And it seems to have come back since they're going on tour again and they want you back. And then there was talk of Britain's Got Talent, the champions. Just update us on what's happening with all of that.
Oh God, it's a little bit. There's been a little bit of drama about that, I must say. There was talk about the guys at Britain's Got Talent wanting myself back on there and wouldn't let Collabro do it otherwise. So I didn't know about this, but one of my agents actually reached out at the time. Apparently, he told me later, but saying maybe it'd be great to have Richard come back and do this. And once he spoke to me about that, I kind of said, well, you know what, just even if it's just for the fans. I think it's been 3 years, even if we just did it as some kind of fan service for the guys who loved us when we were all together originally on the show, that shot us all to fame, maybe we can just give something back. It seemed apt. But no one replied to my agent, and the boys, I still haven't spoken to the boys ever since. So yeah, I think there's still some sour grapes all in all.
I guess the problem is when you walk away, it's a bit like me at the BBC. I worked for them for 15 years. I said I was going to resign from Radio Leeds, and since then the phone hasn't rang. People don't like people who walk away, do they? Because it makes them look a bit silly, I suppose.
I couldn't really care less. I mean, if they don't want me, they don't want me. I just thought maybe perhaps it could have been something that could have been great for the fans. But I mean, it's up to them really. And
I've got a lot of mates who are doing the champions this year on Britain's Got Talent, and it's just a great way to sort of give yourself a boost. There's no competition there because the whole thing's a setup. We know that. There's 300 people voting on behalf of 64 million people living in the UK. So the thing is just really a way of promoting yourself again. So nobody can lose.
I'm happy. I'm living my best life. So best of luck to them on the show and stuff. There's been a bit of backlash, and I still get comments to this day from people who struggled with me leaving, or still have this concept that I left because I thought I was better than them, or some bollocks like that. It's just not me. I don't know where people have got this idea from. So it's something I've had to live with since leaving the band. So it's an everyday occurrance. And
do you have any regret? We should ask that question, I suppose.
No, not at all. I mean, I left, like I say, on the initial interview that we did, I left because I wasn't happy, and I stopped enjoying singing. And that, for me, when I was, 22, turning 23, really wasn't a place I wanted to be in my life so early on. Sort of resenting the one thing that I love doing. So since then I've gone on to rekindle my love for performing and doing all sorts.
It's very interesting. I mean, the band are out there still touring, and so are you in a different way. I guess for the fans, it's that nostalgia. It's a bit like the Boyzone thing or the Take That thing when Robbie left. They just want to remember it as it was. I suppose that's what it is. It's sort of born out of affection that ends up a bit toxic, doesn't it?
Well, I guess, the fan base is really, so family-based. It wasn't like screaming girls. It was actually more, I'd say, mothers kind of thing, where we're almost like their sons. So for me to sort of say the things I did, and sort of tell the truth a little bit, that sort of breaks up the family, and so I kind of look like a black sheep in that sense. So I get it. I understand why people felt the way they did, because they loved Collabro, and those people still do. So I forgive anyone sort of came to me and said harsh comments. I've even had people some years down the line sort of come back to me and say, "Oh, I'm really actually sorry for the things I said to you when you initially left. I totally have sort of grown from then and realised that I shouldn't have been so harsh." And I appreciate that, because it was a real tough thing to deal with.
And we must keep this in perspective. It is showbiz, not Brexit.
Look, dude, there's so much more like going on in the world. Like, it's not really the biggest deal to deal with.
Let's talk about you, if we can. Are you still Mr. Delicious? I know the last time we spoke there, you were down the gym, pumping iron and all of this stuff. Are you still sort of a budding porn star?
A budding porn star. Not quite had to turn to that figure of work just yet, Alex. I'm still going down the gym. I play a lot of rugby still. Occasionally turn up to a gig with a black eye or a twisted ankle. So yeah, keep him fit and doing the things I love doing, mate.
We're going to get on to your private life and all of that stuff, what you love to do when you're not on stage. But let's just talk about this new album, if we can, for a bit. Soho Sessions is out now, and you can pre-order and get it all on the internet. Find out by going to Twitter. That's probably the best place, is it?
Twitter, Instagram, the lot. I mean, it's on Spotify, Amazon Music, and also on Apple Music. So
the interesting thing about this album, Soho Sessions, is that you seem to have come into your own voice even more so than the last time we spoke. Age is never going to be a problem for a male singer doing what you do. You just sort of get better. The resonance is even stronger, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I mean, this kind of album, I mean, it's not particularly where I'm going to end up completely with my sound, but I really felt it was, round about the time I should be, giving my fan base just a little taste of what I've been working on. And I got this opportunity to work alongside Soho Live Studios, and there's 5 songs on there, and all these songs are kind of like just one take straight away. Like we didn't really do any editing. It's just me, piano, and one of them's got some trumpet on it. But it's really just one take and just really raw and really me, and just what I think the fans have sort of been asking for. So I'm really excited to have it out, and I'm really excited to sort of be showing how my voice has developed over the last few years.
How seriously do you take it? Are you the kind of guy that wakes up in the morning and does scales, or do you just sort of have a cigarette and gargle with Listerine before you go on stage?
I mean, look, I have a laugh. I mean, I sing almost every day. I think to get better, I don't really set out a time and go, oh, I'm going to sing now. I just sort of end up singing, and I try and learn new songs, or test my range with a new tune that I've heard. I guess it all happens quite organically, and I'd like it to stay like that. I do like a little bit of Dutch courage before I go on stage, I must say. The
stuff you're doing is sort of similar to how you began with Collabro, but you sort of insinuated there this isn't eventually where you want to be. Where do you want to be?
I think, when I came out of Collabro, I concentrated a lot on jazz, which is a huge love of mine. But I think the word jazz scares people. Mm-hmm. I think people think they don't like it when actually, they do. They just don't like the word jazz. So I've had to sort of maybe have a rethink about that. And this year I've actually concentrated on doing more musical theatre again, simply because I think I got over that initial shock. Coming out of Collabro, it really tainted musical theatre and that sort of classical side of things for me, and I wanted to get away from that as far away from that as possible. I did that, and now I feel like it's time to go back. It's never that I didn't enjoy singing that genre of music as well. I think a lot of people got confused about that. I always loved the big ballads and stuff, but now I'm just trying to do this blend, trying to include some more bluesy vibes with these ballads, and I think that shows in these few songs. But I would like to touch on maybe some more up-tempo stuff and some original material in the future.
I'm wondering what you mean by it tainted you with musical theatre. Is it that it became a bit cheesy? Because that is sort of the formulaic sound of these type of bands, isn't it? I mean, even Il Divo, as much as I love them, what they've done to classical music is formulaic. Is that the problem, that sort of everything ends the same with a big crescendo and lots of pointy spotlights?
I guess I wouldn't even say it was the music side of things. I just think it was the emotional feeling I started to begin to connect with those songs and that genre of music because of the way I was made to feel on stage.
Okay.
So that's really more where that lies. It was definitely an emotional thing. Mate, I love a crescendo as much as the next person. You know, I love a stand up off the chair and into a key change. You know, I've got no qualms with cheese. I mean, you know, people make a career out of cheese. So, you know, it's that wasn't my issue. It was more the emotional attachment to those kind of songs and how that kind of made me feel on stage with the boys.
Since we last spoke, the two words mental health have been spoken more and more and more, especially with young men. And I wonder whether there's an element of that towards the end of Collabro with you. It seems like it was sort of verging on bullying, or at least that's how you felt.
It's all been sort of hashed out and discussed in the past. They obviously say they feel like they did nothing wrong. You know, we're 3 years down the line now, maybe closer to even 4. I do feel like mental health had something to do with it. I mean, I was totally fine going into that band, and you know, came out kind of nowhere near as confident as I was, you know, when I started. So, you know, my confidence really took a knock in that sense, and you know, I was asked to sort of talk less in interviews and sing less on stage eventually. So, you know, that was difficult to deal with. So, you know, yeah, of course it has an effect on your mental health. But I'm happy to say that now I actually go into schools now and give talks about it, and you know, doing things that make people happy. I think from my experience, it's wonderful to go in and talk to kids about actually. You know, there's so many children who want a YouTube career, or they want to be on Made in Chelsea, or just be famous now. And I think being able to talk from my point of view and say that it's not all what it's cracked up to be really does help people.
When you walk on stage now, the opposite of Collabro is true, that you've got to walk out just by yourself and find a new inner confidence. Did that take a while to sort of become the star of the show, opposed to a quarter of the star of the show?
Yeah, I mean, totally, man. I mean, I just really want to outline that once again, I didn't do it because I wanted to be on my own and be on stage. Damn, that's scary, man. Like you got to talk, you got to get up and, you know, put on a show and make people laugh, you know, and that's a lot easier to do when you've got, you know, 4 other guys on stage with you. That wasn't the reason I left at all. So you know, that was really challenging. I feel like I've got better at it, and you know, you can ask my fans and ask them if I put on a good enough show, and hopefully they say yes. But you know, when we go down the crazy cocks and stuff, you know, it's been great to regain my confidence, because that's the thing that, you know, affects that chat in between, a bit of patter, a bit of a laugh. And you know, I was down Quaglino's not too long ago, about a month ago, and you know, I'm walking through the crowd and taking food off people's plates and stuff like that, and like joking around with people for this Frank Sinatra evening before I get up on stage. You know, it's I've developed so much as a performer, and I continue to develop. I'm only 25, man. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you know, it's there's plenty more time, and there's plenty more time to build within my career.
I don't think anybody will understand that feeling of standing in the wings or sitting in a dressing room. That feeling is the worst, isn't it? When you know you've got to go out there and put on a smile. How did you overcome it? What tips do you have for anybody who is struggling with their own sort of self-worth to be on that stage and be the headliner?
What you've just said sort of shoots back to a real good memory of mine. It's very vivid. And it was when we did the Royal Albert Hall on our second tour with Collabro. And I just remember that, you know, it was a sold-out performance. It should have been the night of our lives, and I just remember just being like, I don't want to go on stage. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't like the way that I feel when I'm on stage with these guys. I don't like the idea of the idea of people sort of judging me behind my back and all that kind of stuff. And that was so I think almost in that vein, if you're on your own and you're struggling with that kind of vibe, I think you just need to just take a moment, breathe, and realize there's a whole crowd up there because they enjoy what you do. So ultimately, if you're having that worry within your own head, you need to kind of just reiterate to yourself that there is a load of people out there who, regardless of whatever's going on backstage, do want to hear you perform or hear you talk or whatever, because they're there, they're paid, they want to see you do your thing.
And you were also the first generation that had social media with the entitlement of fans who have the right to tell you what they think. I look back to the 70s, 80s and 90s with some of the biggest stars. They had no idea what the fans thought on a daily basis because, of course, there was no way of reaching them. Now, every comment comes to you, you see it and you can read it, and all these forums and all these places. I'm not sure it's terribly helpful for artists, and I think it's one of the reasons that mental health of people in show business has never been worse.
I think it's a weird one because obviously there's been this whole talk about things like Love Island, not giving the tools to the contestants to be able to deal with life when they come out. But I don't think it's necessarily down to the shows, to be perfectly honest. I think it's down to managements and things like that afterwards. And I guess you could say that's one of the reasons why Collabro didn't do particularly well with that kind of coming out of the show and what led to me leaving, because our management didn't really take that stride in sort of leading the way and making decisions. They sort of left it down to us, and when that happens, you get inner politics and things like that. There's no outside source. I mean, now they've got another management, and I know that's a better management that they're with now, who looks after them. So I think it really comes down to more the aftercare by whoever takes them on. It's not about people just making a quick buck, But I mean, as far as the social media stuff goes, like I said, I've had to deal with that almost. It's not every day. It was every day, and now it's like every week. I get a comment, whether it be on YouTube or it be on an email. Even
really?
Off my website. I mean, it's something. But,
yeah.
That's one every 10 comments. So 10 nice comments. I mean, so you gotta really weigh it up.
And it depends what headspace you're in. Some days it doesn't bother you at all, and other days it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think sometimes. I remember there was one time a couple of weeks back, and this woman just sort of wrote to me on my Facebook, and I've been busting my ass all week. I've been working hard, doing loads of gigs. I've been sort of flying about everywhere, doing shows and stuff. I just come back from New York, and she messaged me just being like, I can't, but you should go back to Collabro. Your career is failing. You're completely like nowhere near their league and all this bollocks. And I was just like, oh my God, and so I had to write back to her, because I was just like, because she was like, oh, it's about you're not going to make as much money. And I'm like, look, love, I didn't leave because I want, it's not about the money. It was about my happiness.
Right.
And money-wise, I'm actually doing all right. So don't worry about that. It was just crazy, and I just had to reply. But normally I don't. I really try and ignore it.
It's very strange, actually, hearing what you're saying, and I hadn't thought of this before, reminds me of me at the BBC. I spent 15 years thinking it would be the thing that made me happy, and the happiest day of my life was the day I left, and I've never looked back since. In fact, I've just bought my own house, which I couldn't get before because I was freelance, and they wouldn't give me one. It's interesting, isn't it, that the thing you think is going to make you happy often doesn't.
Yeah, I think mate, there's lots of people who have our story, who think that something's gonna change their life and make it possibly for the best.
And the other revelation is the grass ain't always greener. That you look back at those who are still there and you think, oh, that might be nice, and then you talk to them and realise, nah, actually they've still got the same struggles we had back then. So it's
exactly, man.
Let's talk about you a bit and your life today. I mean, you talk about the gym. What is it like? I mean, being self-employed, running your own career, doing all that like we both do is tough because we're responsible for our own destiny. Is that exciting? Is it daunting? How are you coping with it?
Yeah, it's good, mate. I mean, you know, I'm newly single, and I'm just trying to, you know, crack on with that whole hurdle right now. You know, that's a whole nother kettle of fish that's like just been plonked onto every other responsibility I have. So that's an interesting new angle to my life. But you know, I guess the hardest bit is travel. I travel so much these days. Trying to stay on top of life while, you know, in an airplane or like in a new hotel and all that kind of stuff. It really does. That can be the hardest thing. You know, I'm off to Venice on Monday, and then I'm in Croatia at the weekend, and I've got to fly back here next week to do this Michel Legrand tribute night at the Royal Festival Hall with Alison Moyet. So you know, it's just like it's just full on. So it's just trying to stay on top of life admin, one email at a time, I guess.
And when you add somebody into that mix, the difficult thing is finding somebody who's patient enough to put up with you. If people want to audition to be Mrs. Hadders, they can go to @RichardHadders and send pictures. Yeah. I think we should do a reality show, maybe ITV, finding Richard a new girlfriend. This is the future.
Yeah, not sure I'm that relevant anymore.
How hard is it finding someone who's interested in you and not the act? That's the tricky bit, isn't it?
Yeah. You know what? I always thought a really good show would be. You seen that dancing one they do recently, where they do the dates with the dancing?
No, I've seen the Naked Attraction. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, not quite that. But I thought maybe getting singers together and doing duets on a date would be quite interesting.
Oh, there you go.
That's my pitch, ITV/Channel 4. Just give me a ring.
Oh, I tell you what, you and Jay McDonald, I think this could be the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Where do you find time to meet people? It must be tricky. And then if you do, finding someone who's going to put up with you, because it is a quite selfish life. That's the other problem, isn't it? That you are 1 minute in Venice and the next minute in London and the next minute home for 2 minutes to change your bags and do your washing.
Yeah. The funny thing is, you've just described my life so well. It's just it's quite scarily on point. Literally, the other day, I realised I hadn't done any washing for a bit, and I ran out of pants, so I had to go buy a whole new pair. So you know, it's because I've flown back, and I was about to fly out again. No, I guess, you know, look, I've only just turned single, so I'm not really looking for crazy stuff like that. But it is now a thing that's on the plate, and you kind of do have to like weigh all that kind of stuff up, and like I say, it's a new level of responsibility, especially with all this bloody online dating stuff now, which I never got involved in before my relationship. So before my last relationship, so that's a whole new thing. Which I'm struggling, you know, just trying to get my head around at the moment. Well,
imagine having my face on Tinder. I mean, who's going to swipe right on there? I mean, for God's sake, you know, and it is a game of vanity, isn't it? Because you're purely judging it on what the person looks like. The fact they might be dull, boring, or one of the nastiest people on earth makes no difference. It's purely vanity, isn't it? So I'd suggest putting your rugby pictures on. That might do the best.
Yeah, quite. I mean, that's what, you know, Naked Attractions pretty much is, though, isn't it? I mean, it's not far off what the online dating scene really is these days.
I'm never doing that show again. The thing went up and she said it reminded her to get some button mushrooms for the omelette. I was offended, Richard, I've got to tell you. Gigs coming up. You're going to do the Sinatra show again?
Yeah, so, I mean, this week we've got the Crazy Cocks. I believe there's only a couple of tickets kicking about left. But that would be Saturday, which is the 14th of September. It's going to be movies and musicals, and I've got a wonderful soprano coming along, Claire Delaney. So yeah, it's going to be wonderful to sing with her. Then next week, the big one is the Michel Legrand show on the 20th of September on the Friday. This is at the Royal Festival Hall. I'll be singing alongside Maria Friedman and obviously Alison Moyet, which is just going to be nuts.
Legend, yeah.
So, you know, and that's with the Ronnie Scott's Jazz Orchestra as well on stage. So very much looking forward to that. And then what you're saying, this Frank Sinatra evening. Yeah, we've got round 2 of it because it went down so well the first time at Quaglino's on the 26th of September. You can find all this on my website, www.richardhadfield.london, cheeky plug, and these gigs are going to be really, really good fun. There's something there for everyone. You've got the mix of musical theatre and a wonderful element of swing as well from the Rat Pack era.
I love your ethic and the fact you keep working and moving forward. That's really the key to it, isn't it? It's a long life, and at 25 you've got a long way to go, and you're still hacking away at it, and that's the joy of show business. 1 minute you're here and the next minute you're there and doing some great places. Live at Zadella, it's become the new big thing, hasn't it, for all major artists. They want to be seen there, and it seems like it can do really great things for you because you're in the eye of the storm in a way, aren't you? You're in the heart of London where people can see you. It must be exciting to do a big gig like that.
Yeah, I've done about, I think this would be my 6th now within the year, which is really, really exciting. I didn't expect it to sort of take off as well as it has done. But like I say, I concentrated on musical theatre this year. Been doing a lot more musical shows, and I've actually been auditioning as well for some West End shows. This is my first year, sort of giving it a go, which I've been fairly successful at. Not to the point where I get the roles, but they've been very impressed with what I've been doing, getting to the fourth round kind of thing on some big shows that everyone will
talk to me about that feeling when you've gone that far, because I don't like rejection on any level, whether it be Tinder or whether it be to be second giraffe in The Lion King. How do you cope with that? Because there's a certain tenacity you've got to have that I don't have. I give up too soon. Just either give me the gig or don't give me the gig. You can't be like that in the West End, can you? And it's not personal. Some of the most amazing people I know are out of work.
Yeah, I think it's just a jigsaw, isn't it? So, like, if you could get that far, and still, it could just be that the one of the other roles you just don't look good next to standing next to them in one scene. It totally depends on that. I mean, I've loved it. I mean, I never expected to get anything, to be perfectly honest. Like it's not really a pressure of mine. I would obviously love to be in Les Mis or Phantom, and that's kind of been the main things that I've had great responses back on. But at the moment, I just think I'm too young. I was expecting to maybe be seen for Andrelas in my first audition for Les Mis, and instead they came back and asked to see me for Javert and Jean Valjean, which I was just completely taken back by, especially the fact that I've never gone to school or trained in singing. So that was really, really great for me, and I'm taking it as a plus, and they've asked me to come back next year and see them again. So let's see. I'm just sort of enjoying the ride at the moment, and if something falls into my lap, so be it.
And again, that's another thing that I can't quite fathom, how you do the same thing 8 times a week, week after week, month after month, year after year. The discipline of a West End performer in a company, something like Les Mis or Phantom, is extraordinary. And again, I don't know whether I'd want to hack it, because it looks so glamorous on the outside, but it's bloody hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it would be very, very challenging. Also, like vocal stamina-wise, that's tough. Even on tour, when we go on tour with Collabro, or even when I've done tour, you normally only do 3 days, and then you have like a day or 2 off, and then you go back in and do 3 days. I mean, West End, you're going to be doing at least 6 on the trot, and then maybe a day off, and then cracking on again. It's kind of mad, really. But yeah, you're right. 8 shows a week. Maybe I won't like Les Mis as much as I do right now.
Yeah, congratulations. Keep just going to see it, I think, is enough. At the end of that show, the trouble is they're all dead and they're the lucky ones. That's the problem with that show. Hey, Richard, great to talk to you as always. Let's do the plug then. So we got the new album, Soho Sessions, is out September 6th. You can get that now by going to Spotify and all those other places. You can find out more by going to Twitter at Richard Hadders for Twitter, and richardhadfield.london on the website with all the tour dates. And we wish you all the best. Thank you so much for your time, and keep on keeping on, won't you?
Thanks, Alex. You too, man.